Welcome students for online classes. Today we'll start a new chapter under Indian economy, that is chapter 5, Human Capital Formation in India. So in this chapter we'll study the sources of human capital, economic development because of human capital formation, the indicators, human development, and lastly about the education in India. So the topics which we'll study today in this session are the meaning of human capital formation and the sources of human capital. So what happens? A human capital formation means, or why should there be a kind of human capital formation? Because of human capital formation, what happens? There will be a growth, there will be a development in the economy. So, how is that? Let's know the meaning. The skills, knowledge, and experience possessed by an individual or a country is called as human capital formation. For example, maybe a particular student going to a school or college or doing his degree or doing his post graduation, all these things comprises of the human capital formation. So human in individually gaining some knowledge or gaining some skill for his betterment, that is known as human capital formation, forming of a kind of capital. What kind of capital are we forming here? We are forming the skill or the knowledge or any kind of information we are acquiring from any kind of thing. It is not only necessary that a particular individual, only a small students should do all these things. Even the old age person, even the elderly person, or even the person in the age of 40, they can gain knowledge, they can know the new information which is available in the economy. So this is about human capital formation. By this, what will happen? Is it necessary for us in individual? Yes, it is very much necessary. Maybe when you go to search jobs, what happens? It is very much important you to have a degree, you to have a kind of knowledge. Even then, what happens? You will get a proper job. So what happens at this point of time? You will earn money, your standard of living will be good. By this, automatically the economic development will also increase. So this is about human capital formation. So the main topic under this chapter is about sources of human capital. So what I can even tell the sources of human capital as the factors to contribute to the human capital formation, to gain knowledge, to improve the skill, to improve the information available in the economy. What kind of sources is very much important? So these are the various sources. First is expenditure on education, expenditure on health, expenditure on the job training, expenditure on migration, and lastly expenditure on information. So here we'll get to know to what extent a particular individual will spend his money to gain the knowledge, to get the skill from the economy. So first one, let's study about expenditure on education. So what does the word education means? It is making each and every citizen as literate, that is known as education. That each and everybody in the economy should know how to read, should know how to write, and should know how to respond to any particular thing. So that is known as education. So education is plays a major role in our economy. Why? Only if we grasp things, only if we acquire things, it is not enough. Even in spite of that, what should you do? You should even take your knowledge to the next level, in the sense, maybe you can work in any particular firm, you can even do your own business. So all these criteria comes under education. So the reasons for people investing on education, why do the people spend, or the expenses made under education? First is increasing knowledge and skill. What happens in the current era? As you are in the PU1 class, what are your parents doing? Your parents are spending so much so that you go to a reputed college, you go to any kind of schools or college, so that you gain knowledge, you get skill, so that it will be helpful for you in the future. Next thing is about increasing efficiency. So yes, this is also very much important, to gain efficiency, to gain any kind of knowledge. Why is it very much important? It is very much important for your future perspective. It is not only to gain any kind of certificate or to gain any kind of marks card in your current age. Even in spite of that, it will be very much helpful in the future times. Next thing is about promoting economic growth. So as told earlier, what happens when the individual earns money, when the individuals has a better standard of living, it will automatically update to your economy as well. So by this, what happens, by this our economical growth will also happen. Next thing is about employment in income generating opportunities. So what happens, employment, we normally after education, what is the next thing you will be doing? Either you will be doing a job under anybody else, or you will be doing your own business. So this is about getting a proper employment, getting a proper job opportunity. And after that, once you get a job, what automatically will you get? The income level. So generating the income, generating the money, generating any kind of profit is also one of the thing. Once you invest to your education, all these things automatically comes you in return. And lastly, about innovation. So what happens, nowadays if you get to know about one cell phone, how is one particular app, how is this cell phone takes on, so when you switch on to the other cell phone also, what happens, you will get to know automatically. So it is very much necessary for each and every individual to have a kind of innovation, to have a kind of knowledge to you in person. So at this point of time, what happens, it is very much important for you to have a implementation to your life, to have a proper knowledge to your economical process also. So this is about education. So next thing is about expenditure and health. So what happens, what does the word health mean? A state of complete physical, mental and social soundness is called as health. Even to what extent education is important in our life, to same extent what happens, health is also very much important. Why is health becomes the first priority in these things? So why is it very much necessary for human capital formation? Only when you are mentally able to grasp things, only when you are mentally able to acquire things from the economy or from any kind of elderly person or from your teachers, only then what happens, you can put that particular knowledge to something else. So not only grasping things, even if you are unwell, even if you are not physically fit to do or any necessary things, what happens, it will affect you in future, it will affect your education, it will affect you whatever things you want to do. So at this point of time, it is very much important for you to be healthy. To be healthy, it is very much important to have a sanitated place, you need to be clean, you need to be tidy, all these things is very much important. So automatic excuse me, so automatically what happens, all these things will affect you in person. So when you are physically fit, when you are mentally sound, at that time what will happen, you can gain more money, you can know more things about what is happening in the economy, or any kind of job. If you want to know about that particular job, maybe any kind of software thing, you need to know about computers, all these things will be helpful you in person. So it tells that it increases the supply of healthy labor force. Why is it told that the supply of healthy labor force? This is because only when you have a physically fit person or a mentally sound person, what happens, automatically your labor thing, automatically wherever you work, if you are working in your own firm, what happens, the workforce or the labor force will increase. So this is one of the major thing where health is very much important. So the various forms of health expenditure, to what kind of things do you you expense, the things will be done. So first is of preventive medicine. So what happens at this point of time, maybe when you were small, your parents had put you any kind of vaccine, so that in future my child shouldn't get into any kind of problematic things, any kind of health issues. So all these are the preventive measures. And even what happens, if you feel kind of sick, maybe cold, at that particular point of time, what will you do, you will go and have a tablet. So this is also a kind of preventive measure. Next is about curative measure. So these kind of medicines or the expenditure made to cure yourself. For example, I will be having a high degree of fever, so at this point of time, what will I do, I will be going to a hospital, I will be taking proper medications. So this is known as curative medicine. Next thing is about social medicine. Now what does this social medicine mean? It means that the spreading of health education, that during maybe first aid, everybody in the economy should know about the first aid, so that if the hospitals or if any clinics are far away from the places, so that first aid will help that particular individual. So this is about social medicine, where spreading of health education should be done everywhere in the economy, maybe with the help of training or maybe with the help of campaigns. Okay, next thing is about provision of clean drinking water. This is very much important. Water plays a major role in our personal life. Why? Without water nobody in the economy can live. So provision of clean water is very much important. And lastly, about sanitation, it is very much important for everybody to live a clean or live a healthy life. So sanitation also plays a major role. Why? Only when you're clean, maybe you in person or maybe whoever stays around in your place, you cannot stay in a garbage pit. So at the same point of time, what happens, you need to be very clean. The surrounding area of a particular individual should be so clean that that particular individual will not get into any kind of diseases. Okay, this is about health. Next thing is about expenditure on the job training. Now what does the word on the job training mean? It means an arrangement where employees develop skills while they are working, called on the job training. Where for example, on the job training is also called as, normally we'll tell it as a training process, normally we'll tell. So this is known as on the job, where during the job area, what happens, you will be getting training. So why will you get training when you are in the job, when you know about a job? Just because maybe new implementation of softwares or maybe new implementation of machineries, to know all these things, what happens, training is very much important for each and every individual. So there are types of on the job training. First one is training to the workers in the firm and off campus training. So the first one is about training to the workers in the firm. What does that mean? The workers are trained in the firm itself under the supervision of the experienced skilled worker. For example, what happens, now you will be getting a job, maybe from tomorrow the person will ask you, maybe the HR will ask you to join. So at this point of time you will be going, so you will be not knowing what kind of work you need to do. So at that point of time, what will the person or the what will the higher authority do? They will give you the training process, how you need to work in the machinery, how the process will be done, how everything should be done. So this is known as a training to the workers in the firm. And even what happens, after some point of time, if the software changes, if the new machinery comes into picture, even at that point of time, the person who are skilled with that particular machinery, or the person who is skilled with that particular what software, what happens, that individual will come and give the training to the other person, so that even other person can work through that machinery or software. That is about training to the workers in the firm. Next thing is about off campus training. Off campus training, in a sense, the workers are sent for off campus training in some technical training institute or in more advanced firm. Say for example, what happens in you, for example, I will be having a company, and the machinery which I want to give, or the machinery which I want to use it, that particular machinery is not available in my firm. So at this point of time, what will I do? I want my workers to study about that machinery, so I will send my workers to any of my friends firm, or to any of the firm which I will be asking for. And to get to know about that, my workers will go to the other firm and have a proper training on that particular machinery. This is known as off campus training, where our trainers or the workers who work in my firm will be going outside to know new things, to acquire new knowledge about any kind of machinery or any kind of software. And later on, once they get noted about everything about the machinery or software, they'll come back to my firm and they'll work accordingly. So this is known as off campus training. So the advantages of on the job training. So what are the advantages? First one is improves efficiency and morale of the employees. So what happens, every day working in the same environment, working in the same particular machinery is very will be a kind of boring thing. So once the training is given, once the new machinery is set up, so what happens at that particular point of time, so doing a new kind of job will motivate the people to work properly or to work in a better way. Next thing is about helps in introduction of new technology. Yes, what happens when new technology comes, automatically the person will adjust to that. So even in the training process also, what happens, you need to adjust to the new things in the economy. So introduction of new things will also help the on the job training. Next thing, facilitates better utilization of raw materials. So as told earlier, what happens when new machinery comes, automatically we should shift to the new technology. So at the same point of time, what happens, the raw materials will be processed in new machineries. So maybe the time duration will come down. So when new technology, why do we adopt new technology, or why do we upgrade ourselves, just maybe to decrease a span of time or to increase the productivity or production process. So what happens, better utilization makes us in using the better things in our life. Next is about increases the mobility of labor. Mobility of labor in the sense moving from one place to another. So what happens, my worker might think that better than this particular company, if I work there I might get more salary, I might get new experience, so he will shift to a other firm. So at this point of time, what happens, increasing in the mobility of the labor will also play a major role under the training process. Enhances productivity. Yes, as told earlier, if you use more machinery, if you use new things, what happens, maybe the production process might increase. So this for because of this, what happens, even the productivity of our particular individual firm also increases. By this, what will I get in return, I will get a proper profit in return. So this is about on the job training. Next thing is about expenditure on migration. So what does the word migration mean? It means movement of people from one place to another for different purposes is called migration. So migrating, maybe I will not be having a proper job in this particular firm, so I need to shift to other job, I need to shift to other place, so that I might get good salary, I might get good experience. So all these things are based upon the migration. So any kind of expenditure made on this migration process, no, this is known as expenditure on migration. So there are two forms of migration. First form is about unemployed. So what happens, unemployed people, the people who are not having proper job, they will be migrating from rural areas to urban areas. So what happens, normally in village there will be only limited number of jobs. So because of this, what will they do, they will shift to the rural areas, or to the cities where the job opportunities is very much more. So this helps in migrating. So you might do the expenditure based on this, maybe to travel, maybe to stay in one particular place. All the expenses made on this particular process, that is known as expenditure on migration. Second one is about migrating to other countries to get higher salary. For example, I might be getting only 20,000 in this my particular job, so that if I go to America, if I go to Australia, if I go to European countries, what happens, I might get a good salary. So maybe in this thought, the people will go to other countries to get a better job. So this is known as migration. Okay, the causes of lack of free mobility of human capital. So why do the people think that going to other place will be a problematic thing? This lack of free mobility, in the sense lack in the sense not going to any particular place. First thing, maybe of language. What happens if as I stay in Karnataka, I will be knowing only Kannada, other than that I will be not knowing as a individual or as a labor. So at this point of time, what will I do, even I want my salary to be hiked, at this point of time I can't even go to other places, maybe to Tamil Nadu, maybe to Kerala, maybe to any other countries itself, maybe to Dubai. At this point of time, I will be not knowing other languages. So this will be a major problem. Next thing is about food habits. So what happens now, we here eat dosa, chapati, now we eat maybe even non-veg. So at this point of time, what happens, once we shift to another place, what happens, their food criteria might be different, so I might get food poisoned, or even if I can't fit into that particular place, my health will also may gone, maybe I might go into any severe health issues. So all these things, maybe that particular place might have spicy food. So all these things we need to keep in mind once we migrate from one place to another. Next thing is about climatic condition. So what happens, as we particular people, we stay in Kurg, so the uh, place or the area which we live in, we are set into this particular situation. So once we go to Mangalore, or once we go to the north, maybe like other places, maybe to Raichur, all these places, what happens, it will be very difficult. The humidity or the climatic changes, climatic things, the weather will change automatically, so which will affect us in person. Maybe you might get any kind of allergy, maybe consumption of food will be very difficult because of the climatic change, maybe living in that particular area will be very difficult. All these things we need to keep in mind once we migrate or mobility of things becomes. Lastly, about love and affection of the family. So what happens, from the beginning till the end, I have stayed with my parents. So once, just because I want my good salary, just because I want a good life, so some people will not tend to move their shift their places to the other urban cities or to any other country. So this is also one of the major cause where human capital formation cannot be done due to the expenditure on migration. Next thing, and the last thing is about, last source is about expenditure on information. So what happens, people spend so much to acquire knowledge relating to the labor market and other markets like education and health is called expenditure on information. So for example, I'll give you a normal example. What will you do, you will purchase new books to gain knowledge, or you might put you might recharge your cell phone to know new things under Google. Maybe you recharge just to see the new videos, new things under the YouTube. All these things are only to acquire information, only to acquire knowledge. So the people who spend so much to acquire all these things are known as the expenditure on information. And even what happens, to know proper information, you are coming to schools, you are coming to college, so this is also expenditure on information. Just to gain a new knowledge, just to gain a new information, what will you do, you spend some percentage of amount. So this is known as expenditure on information. So these are the sources, or these are the five sources of human capital formation, which can also be told as the factors which contribute to human capital formation. So, the assignment part, state the meaning of human capital. What factors contribute to human capital formation? Bring out the need of the on the job training for a person. Explain the need of acquiring information relating to health and education expenditure. Lastly, about discuss the following as a source of human capital formation, that is, health infrastructure, expenditure on migration, and expenditure on education. Thank you, students.